So let me explain this to you. I think I had three opportunities today for real political activity, but the reality is that when you don't speak the local language, you get screwed over. Okay? So these guys were just chilling on the bus. And what's interesting is this: they were chilling on the bus. They were talking about, the merits of democracy, how Africans can't really succeed because of corruption and all that kind of stuff. The trouble is this: I don't know what they were saying. Okay, now later on, my wife explained to me that she explained to me that that's what they were talking about. But at the time, I had no idea what they were saying, and all I heard was Mugabe, 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 and I'm like, oh, these guys are talking my language, but literally they weren't. In the sense of I had no idea what they were saying. So you miss out on an opportunity when you don't know the language, when you can't speak the parlance, I'm reading this book right now. Can't tell you which. If you want to know, obviously go on the Discord. But I'm reading this book, and the dude who wrote it is like, hey, there are those men, a lot of men who study history, and a lot of men who don't. And the men, no, matter of fact, he says there's a few men who study history, and of among them, even fewer, I guess, actually try to apply historical lessons, right? Whereas there are a lot of men who do not study history but would benefit from the study of history. All right? Why am I saying this, right? What I'm saying is that I'm a student of history. You're a student of history, okay? And that's really what, the premise of this is that you are the key towards building a better community. But you have to be present and speak the language. So that was my first opportunity. The second opportunity, honestly, there was this dude walking around, looked like he was selling books. I don't know whose books he was selling, but he was trying to push this book on me. It was like The Problem with Tanzania or something like that. Unfortunately, it wasn't English, but I don't know if he was reading it. I just wasn't in the mood, which is a problem right there. Because technically, if it wasn't him or if it was him, the author is right on the cover. That's probably a political, somewhat a political value of the country. So the third opportunity I actually had was, I'm actually here in the middle. I don't know if you guys can tell. I'm in the beach. I'm in the beach, and I'm visiting my wife's cousin, and so I'm speaking with her husband, and her husband starts off with this, oh my gosh, like he's half Ugandan, he's like Museveni's, or something. I don't know what he was saying, honestly. He's like, I know Museveni, you know what I mean? Like, all that kind of stuff. But what I'm saying is that he then come talk about, oh man, I like the democracy in the United States, you know what I mean? And, blah, blah, blah. And I'm just like, look, this is the opportunity. He speaks English. So you explain to him about the brain drain. You explain to him about, look, the reason why I left America was because I'm not trying to be dependent on no white man. You know what I'm saying? Like, I like the independence you guys have here. And, he's talking about, look, a man got to multiply their money. And I'm like, I hear you. You know what I mean? I agree with you. You know what I'm saying? Like, not just hear you. I mean, I freaking talk about it. But my point is that your opportunity is here. There are a lot of men, okay? There are a lot of men who seek the company, like no homo, right? Seek the company of other men. You get what I'm saying? And in a way such that where we want to build up our communities. We need that encouragement. We need that self-esteem. We need that historical lens, that historical knowledge. And the thing is this, if you're listening to me, I got 12 views on this video. You see what I'm saying? Look down, I got 12 views. If you're one of those 12 people, and I know some of you watched it twice, so if you're one of those 11 people, 10 people, right? You have the knowledge. You gotta use it though. Okay, you gotta use it. And so, in using it though, you gotta be where the people are. Where the men are looking to be independent. You see what I'm saying? Because there's a lot of men who want to be dependent. There's a lot of men here in Africa who are like, man, I give up my whole life to go live in America. And there's a lot of dudes in America who are like, I would not give up any part of my life. I gotta live in America. That's fine. What I'm saying is that there are men who want to be independent, right? Or interdependent on other black men. And that's what you got to step in. And that's your role, because you're a student of history. Okay? You're a student of the social sciences and the material sciences. Okay? You're a student of that. You know, you believe in pushing forth technology to aid you. You know, I'm a little bit of a tangent, right? There were some biblical stories on the TV. My son-in-law is playing YouTube. He comes across some Swahili biblical stories. Okay, they're showing an animation of David and Goliath. You know, I'm trying to get this boy to turn this shit off, but I'm looking at it, and it's like, you know, he's engaged, he's enthralled. He's like, man, look, he's like, Dawdi's about to kill Goliath, right? He's like, Dawdi's about to kill Goliath, right? And you got to ask yourself, what's the premise of that story, right? The premise of that story is that there's a boy, right, or there's a warrior, if you will, a small kid, who can take over some giant guy, some stronger guy, but by the merit just of technology, right? So what technology does is it allows you to change the playing field, right? That's what technology allows you to do, because, you know, the Goliath guy is like portrayed as a giant, and I mean, he's also throwing javelins and shit, and the boys are dodging him. So, you know, there's technology in martial arts, I guess, I don't know. But the point is that, you know, one of the things that you see from that is this idea of, you know, sometimes you allow religion or faith to be like as a substitute for saying, I'm using technology. You know, like if somebody said, how did you find my address, you know, and so on and so forth, you just say, oh, I prayed for it. You know, like a little deception. But my point being, right? My point being, men got to get together. Got to get together in Africa, right? But mainly, and my issue, my trouble is, you got to be able to speak the local language. If you're not studying languages, you know, and some people are like, oh, I got to study language so I can know about the spirituality of people and culture of people. No. You got to be able to talk to them and tell them, hey, look, man, we need to be about something. Because if you're not doing that, you're wasting your time. As far as time goes, though, if you guys must know by now, I got a Discord, okay? So check me out on the Discord. That's it. Check me Hotep, Uncle Johnson, Neb, Amen, my aunt, Dua, Netcha. Oh, you want more beach? There you go.